Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
We don't know.
All right, here we are, flipping houses for rookies.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Dealmaker. It's $100 Bill. It's the Fisherman. It's Bill.
Episode number 227. Are you losing more creative real estate deals than you prefer or want to, but don't know why? Knowledge, truth, and secrets are the guts and soul of any true application of education. How's that for a mouthful, huh, Peter?
I'm back at knowledge, truth, and lies.
Knowledge, truth, and secrets.
Secrets.
How do you get lies out of that?
Well, secrets are like lies.
Knowledge, truth, and secrets are the guts and soul of any true application of education. Today, good morning, Desiree. Today, I would like to cast aside knowledge and truth from my statement. I think we have lots of podcasts pertaining to these with regard to creative real estate. Right, Peter?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Right. Excuse me. But instead, I want to cover the biggest secret amongst all successful creative real estate investors and most human beings, for that fact. And the reason is such a secret because it's right under our noses and hidden in plain sight. Much like a fish not seeing the water all around him because it's so natural he knows no better, this podcast will not only make you more deals, but will help you read the seller's mind. And I'm not kidding about that either. Keep them from ghosting you, which is ignoring you when you communicate with them, and even show you how I take my shortcuts to make deals by having my sellers structure the deals for me so I don't have to work so hard or know so much. And I have never covered anything like this before, so you will enjoy this episode and more than ever, because it will not only help you in real estate, but every aspect of your life and give you abundance. Wow, them are some bold claims, huh, Peter?
Well, you're feisty today.
Peter's like speechless over there. He doesn't know what to say.
I have no idea. Well, I have no idea where you're going with it for starts. I have to see where you take this, like everybody else. Them some bold claims there, Mr. Hawthorne.
Good morning, John. So let's do our housework first, Peter. So first of all, if you look in any of the chats you're in, either it's on your cell phone in the podcast, actually not in the chat, I didn't mean to say that. Where the description is, you will notice that there's a link in there that will give you over 25 free things. There's videos there, there's scripts there, there's forms there, there's all kinds of stuff there that you can get for free to get you started with real estate, creative real estate. Okay, so just go in the description of wherever you're watching us or hearing us right now, and that link is there. Also, we do live stream when we're recording this podcast on Thursday mornings, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can catch us on YouTube or you can catch us on Facebook, and you can send me a message, which people do very often these days. If you have any questions while we're speaking or while we're talking, then that's the place to go, because I will answer them live, because Emma, my daughter and my assistant, has set up the screen that it actually comes out and slaps me in the head, Peter, when they send me a message.
Oh, really? Does it go ding ding or ding dong?
Yeah, no, I'm a ding dong, all right. So make sure you go check us out on YouTube. We are on YouTube. We're actually on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook Live. Okay, so just go in any one of those platforms and type in Flipping Houses for Rookies. And of course, we're on all the podcast channels, Stitcher and Google Play and iTunes and all them. And finally, please leave us a review wherever you are, because that's our feedback, and we like to get a report card just like anybody else. We like to get a report card and know how we're doing. So make sure you go do that. All right? Here we go. Peter, I'm struggling with something very, very hard to chew on these days.
Really? What's that, Bill?
Seems everyone values honesty, but no one wants to tell you the truth. Especially
what is it, a one-way
stuff.
street?
Yeah.
Was it a one-way street?
Right? Or vice versa. And I had trouble writing this because it's a two-way street for me, because it could go someone, everybody wants to talk about honesty, but they don't want to hear the truth.
Well, Bill, would you think, I know you got someplace to go, but just let me throw this in. Would you think that the most people that are most concerned with honesty are the ones that are not truthful themselves? Is that possible?
Yeah.
That's what I was afraid of.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to evaluate like that, but that's what I found is when somebody's trying to convince you they're honest,
yeah,
they probably aren't. They're just trying to convince you.
Yeah.
So
why worry about something if you don't have nothing to worry about?
Just to go off on a tangent here, one of the things that something happened, I forgot what happened. I was watching TV with someone, might have been at the cigar shop, but an actor came on. The big dude, I don't know his name, but an actor, and he comes on and he's talking about how he's like behind Biden. Because there were several commercials I saw that actors are behind Biden, and they're in the Biden movement, which is cool, right? I mean, whatever. But one of the guys, made a comment, and I'm like, why would I listen to him?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, he's not an opinion leader for me. He's a paid actor. He gets paid to do what he just did. I don't really know if that's how he feels, right? It's like he's a paid actor.
Well, you know what I said to someone the other day? I might have been on my daughter-in-law or somebody. I said, you know what? Those people that are actors or politicians, they're not smarter than us. They don't have higher IQs. I got a damn high IQ. I've taken tests. And a lot of people are pretty smart. And you don't have to be a politician to be who says they're smarter than us?
Right.
Just because they're there. They just wanted to get there. They got there. We got somewhere else. They're not smarter than us. Actors, football players, so what? You know who
Exactly.
I think is smart? The guy who comes around and fixes things. Who goes somewhere and fixes a problem.
That's
How's
right.
that? How's that for bananas? That's my 2 cents. So what have you done? What have you fixed? Who have you helped? If not, get out of my face.
Exactly. So talking about honesty, I'm going to put
Honestly.
this over here. Look at this.
Oh, wow, no, we got a whole...
Dan
I love
says,
hearing-
I love hearing you guys, but I'm not sure how safe it is. But I decided to be honest with my Uber customers. Before I drop them off, I tell them I'm just posing as an Uber driver as I hand them my lawn care business card with the URL to my online store on the back. Then I tell them I'm really just riding around looking for real estate to add more things to my store. Would that be considered guerrilla marketing? No, because Uber drivers, Dan, I think Uber drivers are all considered part-time. They don't expect you to just be a faithful Uber driver. I mean, that whole industry is exactly guys like you. And I only know that because my sister does it, So I think that's freaking awesome. And yes, go guerrilla marketing, Dan.
Hey, put a magnetic sign on your doors. It's your damn car. It's your car.
Desiree, I'm ignoring your statement, but I can't do it. Desiree says, it's not over. She's talking about the election.
Hey, I haven't heard any fat lady sing lately, have you?
No, we're not going there.
No, it's just, it's a saying.
All right, we're completely diverted. So I because of this this thing I'm chewing on, seems like we could do a whole podcast just on honesty, but seems everyone values honesty, but no one wants to tell me the truth. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be a little philosophical about this today. Not too much, just a little bit. But most of us have heard of the be, do, have thing, right? Be, do, have.
I've been thinking about that lately. I've been
Nice.
thinking about that. Go ahead, do your move there. I've been thinking about it too.
So it's common knowledge that if you want to have something, right, you must do certain things. And to do certain things, you must be a specific way. You must have like a beingness. You have to be that person. Like, for example, if you want to have a law practice, then you would practice law by being a lawyer.
Right, you have to learn all this stuff to be that person, to be your identity, your hat in life.
Right. So it starts with the be. Like, who do you think you are? Right. Not sarcastically, but who do you think you are? Like, I know I'm a seasoned dealologist. Or in Ron LeGrand's world, I'm a transaction engineer. I'm fully trained on that. So anything I do and anything I have, it comes directly from that, like, pinnacle. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, good. I have to sneeze. Hang on. Got all kinds of distractions today.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right. So I got to thinking, Peter. Let me see if I get this straight in my mind. Have we all seen to be clear on investing, right? So the have portion of it, we all seem to be clear about. We want freedom, financial independence, family time, comfortable retirement, religion, etc. We seem to get that quick. Like, what do we want to have? Mostly because it's what we don't have. So we're trying to get that. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, what are they saying now?
Oh, Desiree, she pulls me off my script more than you do lately. She says too many distractions because Satan doesn't want us to get to the juicy info.
Oh, Satan.
All right, so we're kind of all familiar with the have, right? That's like a common thing that most of us kind of strive for. It's usually one of 8 or 10 things that most of us fall into that category. Do you agree? Okay.
Yeah, well, that's pretty normal. That's pretty natural all through history. That's what any organism wants.
Right. So doing, we talk about a lot on these podcasts, right? There are many, many, many like me who have podcasts and books and courses and videos, etc. So no shortage of that portion of it, right? The doing part. Like, there's so many people that are trying to get you to do this and do that and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
But what about the be?
Yeah,
right?
if that, you need that.
What do we have to be, or who do we have to be in order to pull this great feat of creative real estate off?
Yeah.
Right? Seems the haves and the do's are pretty much very common with most of us.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, we talk a lot about that.
But the be is what makes us unique. Isn't that correct?
That can vary quite a bit, and it's a little bit invisible.
Yeah.
You can see what somebody should do, you can see what they want to have, but the be is like an invisible inside your head.
Right. It's your world. Like me, it's Bill's planet.
Yeah. Hey, folks, don't go in there.
Yeah. So with Peter, it's an asylum. I couldn't resist taking a shot at you, Peter. I apologize.
Yeah, but it's okay. Sticks and stones.
It's actually the other way around, folks. If you really want to know the truth, Peter reels me in more than I reel him in lately.
But today we're all on a nut house. Let's face it, we're on a nut house. Let's try to calm it down a little bit, this nut house of ours. It's a beautiful place, you know.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Even it's kind of gloomy today out my window, but still, it's a marvelous place. Let's stop screwing it up. Come on.
Amen.
Get back to your script, Bill.
But today, I would like to talk or take a stab at putting the bee on some sort of common ground so we all have the same chance to put the ball in the hoop or actually make a touchdown.
Yeah.
And if each listener really took what I was going to talk about today to heart, the greatest joy in life could happen. And that's creating.
Amen to that.
Right? So the greatest
Amen
joy
to
you
that.
can have in life is to create. Okay? And
You know-
when people, I notice my students, when they're creating their offers and they're creating their life as a real estate investor and they're creating their business, they're the happiest. I've taken some of the most unhappiest people I've met, and just by teaching them this stuff, and they feel like they're creating their future, or they're creating to help their family, or they're creating their life to get out of the trap, they're just really happy.
Oh, totally. I went from worrying about problems to just worrying how to create more. But it's not really worrying. It's the solution is you just create something else. You know, just create something. That's all we have. You know, you don't just go along life doing whatever it does or going along with it. You create something.
Right.
Just make something happen.
Sure.
You know, out of thin air. Just make something.
All right, so let's get into it. What I am alluding to all along here, and have got you on the edge of your seat, I hope.
Oh, I just leaned back. Sorry.
Is communication.
Ah. Yeah.
Not talking or words or conversation, building rapport or even chit-chat. But instead I'm talking about watching the movie in your seller's head that he sees in his own mind. This way you can be part of their theater and know when to get the popcorn, when to cry, when to laugh, and even when to stop talking. Because if you do these things correctly, everything in your life will go up, not only real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Because as we know, communication is the solvent of everything.
Yeah.
It solves everything.
Yeah.
The
It's the only way you
worst
get in
problems
trouble.
in the world, if you just confront them and communicate about them, will go away.
It can take a lot of communicating, though. A lot of data, weeding through some facts, but it's the only chance you got.
Right. And I'm not talking
got.
about when I say communicating, I'm not talking about talking. And that's what I want to do. When speaking to sellers, too much, listen to this. I think this is a fascinating way to say this. I love this paragraph or this sentence. Okay?
Yeah.
When speaking to sellers, too much originality throws them off into unfamiliarity and therefore almost always creates disagreement.
Did you write that?
Part of it, yeah.
You know, it's wild that you say that. In art,
That's right.
it comes from art. If you're too weird with your music, people don't get it.
Yeah.
If you're too familiar, you go, I've heard it before. There's this fine line musicians and artists run. A little bit new and a little bit familiar, but too much either way, no good. It's interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley. That's awesome.
So too much originality throws them off into unfamiliarity and therefore almost always creates disagreement.
Is that what happens when we talk to people about rent to own, lease option, blah, 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 things they've never heard about. They go, what?
So
Explain that again.
Let me
What?
explain. Yeah. So seller wants 180 grand in cash. So he or she can take the 50 grand they think they're going to get and build their new spaceship next month.
Spaceship.
Yeah, just I didn't want to come up with. I wanted to come up with something weird, right?
Sure.
So they had this idea. They want to build this spaceship because they want to go home or whatever, and I'm intentionally making this weird because I've heard some really weird shit what people want to do with money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really weird. Like they want to sell their house because, and it's sometimes as far fetched as building a spaceship.
Okay.
Okay.
I've seen that movie.
So the seller wants 180 grand and they think they're going to get 50 of it, right?
Yeah.
Then you come along and say, well, I don't plan to pay you the 180 grand now. I want to give you 1,500 a month until I can pay you off.
Hmm.
Right? See the instant disagreement?
Not what he had in mind, huh?
Right. Now let me move on to the next thing before we decide that I'm like talking against what we've been teaching for a very long time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's a very, very, very fine line between the outcome of the communication and the technical aspects of the deal.
Explain.
See, you have the outcome of the deal, right? So, like, when the deal is done, what are they going to get?
Yeah. Where it's headed, what's going to happen. Okay.
You know that,
Yeah.
right? And then you got all the technical crap that goes on before that.
Oh, yeah. To get there.
So
It's like all the doing that you have to do to get the having you want to have.
yeah.
Got it.
Told you it was a little philosophical, but when you get it, it changes how you present things because I talk a lot about questions, asking questions. That's the doing, right? And I'm going to go over this in a minute, but what happens when they answer the question? That's where my guys are falling apart. So I could teach them the question, but it's the natural response because Desiree will have one way to say it, and you'll have another way to say it, and Bill Fusco will have another way to say it, and Phil will have another way to say it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody has a different way to respond. It's the reaction. And that reaction is going to come from your personality, which is what makes us all different.
Yup.
Right?
Yep.
So the part that is the wild card for me is how do you answer that question? So first of all, if I'm fortunate enough to get through your environment and into your head, right? Like if I can get through all the security systems you have on that I'm just trying to sell you something, and actually get into your mind where you realize that I am truly trying to help you, and I am by far the cheapest solution that you will find, right? When you come around to it, you will figure that out. Everybody does, right? And the amount that I give for the amount that I charge, because quite honestly, this is a hobby for me, okay? This is not my main stream of income. I mean, you know what I have going on. I have at least 5 deals going on right now, right? And I'm constantly doing real estate, right?
Yep.
So once you get through that, you realize I'm sincere, right? I can at that point at least get you to drill or role play and kind of embed into your mind these questions. Like, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Yeah.
The part that I'm struggling with is once I get through the security system and I actually get into your mind and I actually, quote unquote, sarcastically using this language, brainwash you to use my questions, okay? The next problem I have is how do you respond?
So you mean when we ask questions of the seller and then they throw things back, how do we respond to their responses? Is that what you mean?
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
And there's so many variables there that it's hard for me to do. By the way,
Yeah. What?
Please hear me loudly. Please hear me loudly, because that response is the difference between making a deal and not making a deal.
So we all have a question of you, Bill. All of us have a question. And this is something I do in all the things I do in my personal life, my businesses. You know, we'd all like to be 100% perfect. Doubt that it's possible. So personally, I think if I'm close enough things go well. How perfect do we have to be? Is it like razor thin? Close enough?
See, Peter, I'm going to tell you how close I am to this problem, because I'm going to read to you my next paragraph in my notes.
Yeah, because you know what I'm trying to say is, like, if we have to be completely perfect, we might not be able to do it.
For those perfectionists out there, it is unusually necessary to lower a standard of perfection to achieve a good communication.
Oh.
For those perfectionists out there, it is usually necessary. I said it wrong the first time. It is usually necessary to lower a standard of perfection to achieve a good communication. You want to get your message to the seller with minimum sacrifice of the technical aspect of the deal. So if you look at these, like the top is the outcome of the communication, like what message do you want to get to? And below here is the technical. So you're like trying to push down the outcome so it becomes accepted, and push up the technical as far as you can go without confusing them. So you're trying to sandwich the two of them. So you're pushing down, right? Because you have to push down the outcome of the communication. Like, I'm going to buy your house right now for $100 down. I'm going to do it in 90 days, and I'm going to start paying you on the 10th of January. You can't tell that to a customer until they're ready.
Right.
Right? So the outcome but you have to gracefully say that. I mean, let's talk about this. Let's just be crude as hell about this, right? Tell a 10-year-old girl she's going to have sex with a boy in 10 more years.
Wham! No siree, Bob.
Right? Tell any one of us what it's like to be in your 40s or 50s or 60s. Tell a woman what it's going to be like when she has labor with a child. While she's fooling around with a guy in the beginning. She's not thinking about that. Right? You see, so the outcome is not always accepted that early on.
It's a true reality. But
Right.
you know, I'm getting this picture when you talk to a seller. They want everything. They start off at the top of their like hierarchy of what they expect. They want everything. They want it now.
Right.
And it's not even real in the first place. And it ain't now on top of that.
So you want to get your
Holy
message
jeez.
to the seller with minimum sacrifice of the technical aspects of the deal. Because perfectionist people talk tech talk. And I'm going to get to this in a minute, but it's what I call giving the seller a seminar.
Right.
But you need to do this in a manner that it could be accepted and understood by your seller. So you have to keep the flow moving towards the outcome without disagreements along the way. So This is what I'm talking about when I say the building blocks or the foundation when I'm trying to explain that.
Yep.
It's like you build the offer as you build the communication, because you're teaching the person. It's like you want the person to do I don't know, I was thinking math, but calculus, right? You want the person to do calculus, right? Math.
Yeah.
But they haven't done plus and minus yet.
Sure.
They haven't done division. They haven't done any of that other stuff yet. So you have to like teach them 1 + 1 = 2. 4 × 4 = 16. You know what I mean? And you have to like teach them that aspect before you can get to the calculus.
Right. And I think the problem happens because you, I, others could be at the calculus step.
Right.
And they're not. And you have to be really patient to.
So go stop right there for a second, Peter, because okay, so I'm there, you're there, okay, so blah blah blah. So what? What about the students that are listening to us now? If they don't know it, how do they teach it to the seller? And that's what I run into.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm trying to kind of undercut this with this type of philosophical type of conversation. So this is where I speak a lot about asking questions, right? And I feel we have done a good job of giving our listeners and our students and my private coaching guys a lot or very many great tested and proven questions. Right? But here's the thing. The questions all fall into the do category we spoke about.
Right.
And the seller's answers fall into the B, like I was saying.
Wait a minute. Whoa, slow down there. His answers, you mean like that's what he's feeling? How do you mean that's his B?
So, if I have a guy, well, I have a house I'm closing on tomorrow. Okay, and he's bringing $35,000 to the closing table.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm bringing my money. He's bringing $35,000 to pay the mortgage off. In my negotiation, which took me 3 weeks, he spoke to his accountant. He spoke to his financial advisor. I'm sure he spoke to other people.
Yeah.
And he came back and told me point blank, because I offered to do a subject to deal with him and just absorb that $35,000. And when he came back to me, he said he spoke to his financial advisor and he's going to take the cash price.
Yep.
And he's going to bring the $35,000. Okay, so you get the picture now, right? His B is a business guy.
Yeah.
And he has the ability to generate the $35,000 and wash his hands of this price, of this deal. Now, what I have figured out is that this guy had this house free and clear. He borrowed money to pay off his ex-wife in a divorce. And instead of having $170,000 or $180,000 debt, he's like, I can get rid of this for $35,000. I'll do it.
Ah, okay. Wow.
So in his head, he got divorced and it cost him $35,000.
Because the house paid for the rest of it.
So when I'm talking to his beingness, who he's being, is it going to be different than the guy that works in a factory or doesn't have a job, is on unemployment? What's he going to be like?
Yeah.
He's going to be like, there's no way $35,000 to this cat is like $1 million.
Sure.
Because who's he being?
The guy that grunts out $16 or $18 an hour.
Yeah.
And $35,000 adds up to years. So is that like, I was having a conversation with a guy we're buying some property from, and during it, I realized his B. I think I catch what you're saying. When they answer you, you're figuring out what they are. I figured out this guy was just nervous about everything, and he didn't want to worry, didn't want to lose sleep at night. So I just reassured him, "Oh, it's easy. We'll take care of everything. You don't have. Do you have anything to lose? Do you have anything to lose?" He goes, "No." Good. So I think I know what you're saying. The answers give you clues to how they're feeling and what they're thinking in their heads and how they're being, so you can do something for them.
Right. And it's not the words, it's the picture they paint, which I'm going to cover in a minute. It's not the words, it's what they're saying. It's like reading between the lines. It's like, I always say, if it's not in writing, it's not true, which really means like my kids. I have 2 daughters, and they are beautiful kids. They're very, they blonde hair, blue eye type kids. One's a redhead, one's a blonde hair. Anyway, so
yeah,
I had to teach them how to fend off boys. So it was a very simple lesson for me. I sat at the right time. I sat them both down and said to them, "Here's how you figure out if it's the right boy."
Mm-hmm.
And all I said to them is you watch what they do, don't listen to what they say.
Can you expand that explanation to the rest of the country, please?
So if the boy tells you he's going to show up at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, and he doesn't show up at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, then you can start to realize that maybe you shouldn't trust this dude. Because every boy at their age, 20 years, 18, 20 years old, he's looking to get in their pants. I mean, I was, you were, right? This is Mother Nature. This is not like some kind of like sex talk we're having here. This is just how it is. Mm-hmm. It's just Mother Nature.
Yep.
It's the weirdest thing in the world, because a guy's in the prime of his life in his 20s and a woman's in the prime of her life in her 30s. It's the weirdest thing in the world. You'd think that they would have been a little bit better matching that up, but anyways. So all I did was teach her that, right? So this is kind of what you're doing now is you're actually testing your seller on their actions, not on their words. So if they are lying to you, you can not catch them, but start to see signs of it prior to them actually lying to you and getting away with it.
Yeah, and messing things up, you can catch it before it becomes a problem.
Right. Okay, so let me say that again. Those questions, those questions that we ask are all the do in the do category we spoke about, and then the seller's answers fall into the be category. And here's why. A lot of people don't hear or digest the answers. Now, I'm talking about the investor or even the person. They don't hear or digest the answers. Mm-hmm. They're too busy thinking about what they should say next.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happens. They end up giving a no answer to the question. They never answer the question and end up with a diversion. Right? So this is considered a lag in the communication, right?
Yeah, it's not answered. So we're not handling the response correctly, and it's just sitting there.
So let's do a little bit of role play so we can understand this, okay?
Sure.
So let me see if a good question. So Peter, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
I can wait a little bit. I actually can, but I need my full price.
Okay. So what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
I need the
So
190.
actually, you messed up there because you answered my question.
Oh.
Because you actually answered,
harder.
I want full price.
Yeah.
So you answered the question. So that was the right way to do it. What would have to happen for me to buy your house today? Well, I would need my full price.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So you actually answered the question.
Mm-hmm.
So that just for the sake of role playing, the next place I would go is well, how much money do you think you're going to make? Right.
Mm.
And then
I'll start all over again.
What they're going to do it? Yeah. So Peter, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Well, I want my 190. That's my asking price. I want the full price.
So you're answering the question again. You're not answering me with another question or trying to divert me. It's not a communication lag. It's you're just answering the question.
I might have had the roles play. I might have had the roles.
So I want to give an example of what it's like to have a lag in the conversation where you actually answer me but don't answer the question. Right? So Peter, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Well, I don't know. How much can you pay?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Well, I'm looking for the best offer out there. So what's yours?
Well, I think the best offer I can give you is the one that you want. So what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Well, I want my 190.
Okay. So if I gave you the 190, you would sell me the house?
Yeah.
Okay, so
you pay 190, yeah.
So that was a lag because you answered me twice with a no answer. You answered me with a question or a diversion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens with my students too many times, because I hear them recording, I hear their recordings, is they take that as some sort of like you originated that. Like it's a real concern of yours. Like you need to bring it up because they said something.
And they have to answer it because the other person asked.
They feel like they have a responsibility to answer that question.
Yeah.
When really all you're doing is you're just trying to negotiate, but you don't know how.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about with the being part. Because if you were not me and didn't know what I'm teaching you right now, it would be too easy. Because what was the first response you gave me? I don't remember what it was.
Well, how much are you offering?
There you go. See how that can turn into a student giving a seminar. Well, I could do a slot deal, or I could do a lease option deal, or I could do a subject to deal, and I could pretty much anything you say I can give you an offer. So what do you think? And 20 minutes later, the guy's eyes are rolling back in his head, and he's thinking, I didn't want this seminar, right?
Yeah.
So think of this. I'm going to give you kind of a weird twist to this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do with my wife.
Mm.
And it's private, but I do it. I look at her when she's sometimes she'll give me advice, and I'll look at her and say, I'm not looking for solicited advice right now. I'm good, thank you. Like she'll tell me, Emma took 45 minutes for lunch. You should do something about that. I'm like, I don't need the solicited advice. I'm good. I know exactly what happened.
Yep.
And so many people give you throughout the day. Now pay attention to what I'm telling you. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Go throughout your day today or tomorrow. Count how many people give you advice that you really don't need. They're soliciting their opinions of what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you don't need to do that with your seller because people shut that off.
Mm-hmm.
You have to ask permission to give advice, not just solicit it. This is no different than a salesman coming in your front door of your store trying to sell you something you don't want. Yeah. That's what they see you as.
Yes. I'm not shopping for that right now. I didn't call you. Don't call me. Goodbye. Click.
Right.
Yeah. Do you I have a thought in my head as far as like advice. Like we need a viewpoint, a being on our end to just set us up to deal with it? Do you have an answer? I have a thought in my head how I try to remember to deal with that because I know where I make the mistake. Do you have advice on our viewpoint to not just answer all those questions?
Yeah, you answer that you don't move on until you get the answer to that question. What would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
I learned something in PR that I did some years ago. I did a couple of radio, TV shows, whatever, and I had to read some things. And I don't remember to do it all the time, and I'm not perfect at it, but I try to remember this. I'm trying to control the conversation, not them. Right. So just because somebody asks me a question doesn't mean I have to answer. I saw something on Facebook this morning where a kid comes home and says to his mommy, "Mommy, this kid in school said I was a dummy." And mother says, "What would you say to him?" Says, "Nothing." "Well, why didn't you say something back?" "Because I don't have to. That was just blah, 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 blah. I don't have to answer that." I turned around and walked away. So the idea is you don't have to answer everything people say if it's not getting you to the result that the other person even wants. They don't even know where they're going. So we should be guiding the conversation. I'm just saying to try to take
how when you were a kid, they used to tell you that kids should be seen, not heard?
Yeah.
Right? So they were telling you when you could talk and when you couldn't talk, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, what most people don't realize is it works for listening too. You can listen and not listen when you choose. Yeah. The problem is that with your mouth you can control it by keeping the noise not coming out. With your ears you can't control what comes in them. A sound is a sound. You can't plug unless you're deaf or you cover your ears, right? But you can't control it. But you don't have to accept it. Right?
So you're saying just get your question answered, and I'm saying realize that it wasn't answered, and you don't have to answer theirs. It'll get answered later if you just stay in control of the conversation and just keep going on your little agenda, because that's really going to help the guy because he doesn't know what you're trying to do. Don't let him be in charge. He doesn't know where you're going. You'd be driving the bus. Someone says take a left, and you see it goes over a cliff. Don't take the damn left.
Lone Star says, "Yep, my brother loves to give me his advice."
Oh, and there's a cow and a pile of dung.
Yeah.
in the graphic.
That was good. So just tell him I don't need your solicited advice, brother. So I know this is a little profound, but what I'm trying to do is at least bring some attention to this so people can at least look at it and at least pay attention to it and work on it. Right?
But Bill, we can practice this in just conversations, can we? Right?
Yeah.
Because my wife always goes, "What do you want for supper?" What the hell? Am I in charge of dinner all of a sudden?
Right.
So I ask her, "What do you got? What's on the menu?"
Right.
And she doesn't get mad at me. I don't say I say it much nicer. I'll just ask her, "Well, what do you have, honey?" Because it's not my problem to solve. You're the mommy.
Right,
so I just ask her back.
I want to make a footnote here that when you ask me, when you gave me an answer, I didn't just move on to my question. I actually acknowledged you, which I'm going to do this in a minute. I actually acknowledged you, and then I asked the question again. So I made sure you knew that I got it.
Right.
Like what you're saying with your wife, there was no, I mean, I'm sure you did, but you just, like what's for supper, you say to her, "What do you have?" Mm-hmm. That's not a good way to handle it. Mm-hmm. So it should be, "What's for supper?" Well, I mean, I know there's choices, but why are you asking me? Like, you can't decide? Like, what do you have? Or something, some sort of a bridge between the two of them so that it's not just exactly what we're telling you not to do with your seller, you're doing to her. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, that's my short version, but
yeah.
I do it politely. And it's true, if you don't acknowledge somebody, they don't think you heard them or are listening, and that'll piss them off.
Right, we're going to do that right now. So as you can see during this two-way communication, going back and forth, we're actually swapping mental image pictures.
Yeah.
Okay? So if I say elephant and you picture a snake, well, first of all, I did a bad job making sure you saw an elephant. Or even if I did do some sort of a good job and the seller sees Dumbo as a elephant, as a baby elephant, right? Not the mom that I'm talking about as the big elephant, well, we're off on our conversation. Because you're seeing one thing and I'm seeing another thing, right? And we're heading for that big fat disagreement if I don't catch it and resolve it. So what you see is $50,000 in a big bag of cash.
Yeah.
Not taking into consideration the cost to sell and all the technical things we were talking about that add up to you getting $34,000. Because the last deal I thought I was going to close on, I thought I was going to get $51,000 and I got $34,000.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because of all the cost to sell. And you would think I would know that of all the deals I did, but I had some problems with taxes, and I had some, because this town I was in, I had to pay 1.5 years worth of taxes.
Jeez.
And then the closing cost, it ended up being $15,000, which you would think I would know that, but I didn't.
No, there's a lot of moving parts, and I mean, you find that out, but it takes to the end sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to take inventory of the pictures that you're painting with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
And much like an artist painting a picture, right, with one line first, and then a section, and then one color at a time, until the entire picture, in the end, comes together. Right? This is how you put deals together. You start off with a canvas, and then you get a pencil, and you start sketching it out. You know, next thing you know, you got a section together, and then you put one color, and then you put another color in, and then pretty soon it's in the customer's mind fully painted.
Yep.
But they had to go through that process with you. You can't just, you know, and this is, by the way, I should have said this in the beginning, this is for creative real estate when you're trying to get terms deals. When you're doing cash deals, it's just money.
Yeah.
I'll give you $125,000. I'll give you, no, I want $140,000, and you negotiate. Okay. This is for creative real estate deals with no money down, right? So
Right.
you're painting this picture. You got this canvas, and you're drawing some lines, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, and you're like developing this picture in the customer's mind, in the seller's mind, right? So now let's reverse this. Does the seller know you understand, or you get his or her communication? So I'm telling you that we're putting pictures in their mind. We're creating pictures for them, right? Because here's an amazing statement, okay? I'm not going to talk about this. I just want to drop this bomb for you to think about. Most people can't sort out or don't know the difference between their imagination and what they actually observed.
Yep.
Most people, when you're absorbing things or making your mental image pictures, you know, subconsciously or inherently, because you don't even know you're doing it, when it comes into your mind, there's like little triggers in there. It's got to go through this tunnel with all these little, like, you know,
filters.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Good filters. Yeah, right. Because your feelings and your opinions are like infecting this picture. Like, I hate bicycles, so the bicycle picture has to go through I hate bicycles. So do you attach to that picture a bad bicycle because you hate bicycles? Or do you attach a pleasure moment like, oh, I love bicycles, to that picture before it actually makes it to a full, completed picture? Right? I mean, I know I'm way profound here today. I know that I took a risk with this podcast, but I hope I'm getting somewhere.
Well, you know, as you talk, anybody can get 1, 2, or 3 points today that'll help them. You know, I figured out how to get dinner made better with my wife now.
Right.
No, but seriously, like any 1 point will help. That's all you have to get across is 1 or 2 points, and it'll help. In any way, it'll be fine.
Right.
And you're not over yet. You got a couple more minutes to get your point across.
So Lone Star's asking me. So you say what has to happen for me to buy your house today? So if the seller replies with a price you can't work with, what do you reply? Without pissing the seller off and then telling them to go F off and waste my time. So let's role play it, Peter.
Okay.
So what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Oh, I need my 260.
Okay, so if I can't give you your 260, what would happen?
Well, I'll wait. I'm sure it'll come along.
Okay, I think you should do that. What's more important to you, getting your price or selling quickly?
I'm not in that much a hurry. I can wait.
Okay. So see how that went, Lone Star? All it did was that question is just a guide for you to know what you're doing. He's a total suspect. Now let's do it the other way. So Peter, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Oh, well, I need my full price. I need my 260.
That's not going the other way, Peter. What are you on, Mars?
No, well, what do you mean the other way then?
That you're being a suspect right now. So what happens if you're a prospect?
Well, I thought he wanted to hear like a price that's too high.
No, that's not what he said. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, the way communication happens. So Peter has some other picture in his head. He misunderstood this question, and he's got some other idea in his head, and it's hard for me to communicate with him right now because we don't have the same picture. We're not on the same page.
Yeah, but I'm right.
You're always right.
No, go back. It says if the seller replies with a price you can't work with. So I thought I had to throw a price out that you can't work with.
Okay. So we did that one.
Yeah.
So now what happens if we had a price we could work with?
Right. So it's not ridiculous.
Right. So you're not a suspect.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, the first one you were just a suspect. You're asking $260 for a $240,000 house, and I'm just like, I'm not your guy.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I might take an attempt with that guy and say, well, the only way I could help you is if you offer me, if you let me pay monthly until I can pay you off. That's the only way I could pay $20,000 over the price. I just confront him with it.
Right. I thought that's where you might go because I know you can spread it out.
Yeah,
if the price
I don't want to
get
too confusing with the role playing because that'll bring up a whole bunch of questions, and I'm trying to keep it simple. So now, what would have to happen, Peter, for me to buy your house today?
Well, I would need a price of $240. That'd be great.
Okay. Wow. How about you ask me the question? Why don't you ask me the question and I'll give the examples? Let's reverse it.
Okay. So, Bill, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
If I could just get rid of the debt and get it off my back, that would be really good.
Oh, okay. So we want to get rid of the debt.
Yeah, so now let's do it the other way. Ask me the question. So that's being a prospect. So now let's do it the other way.
Wait, are you going to ask me?
No, you're going to ask me the question again.
Okay, so what would have to happen for me to buy your house?
I have to get $260,000 in cash.
In cash. Yeah, I don't think I'm your guy then.
See what I mean? See the difference between the two questions. That's all. The only point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, well, one guy's not flexible then, is that right?
Yeah,
and the other guy at least
one guy's like willing to sell it to me for what he owes on it, and the other guy is like asking me, according to Lone Star's question here, $20,000 over the asking price.
Yeah.
So you just confront them. You just so Peter would, on the guy that's asking too much money, he would say, well, I appraised it for $240. You don't get into an argument with him, but as soon as you decide in your head that he's a potential prospect, you treat him like a prospect.
You try to work with him,
cultivate the conversation. But if he's just being a dickhead and he's being a suspect, then teach him that. I mean, treat him that way.
Bill, I had a guy with a condo. He wanted, I think, $500,000 for a condo in my town. It's not on the beach. And I said, Where'd you get that number? How'd you come up with that? She says, that's just what I want. Says, oh, really? Well, congratulations. Nice talking to you. Bye-bye.
Johnny's got one. That's
he was
right.
just a jerk.
So Johnny's got one. I've got a guy who wants full price at 9% interest and 20% down. I let him know maybe he should put it on the MLS, multiple listing service. He's tried he's a tired landlord, sorry about that, and wants to sell, but he thinks I don't want to make money. And then after that he put, it also needs repairs.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So, I mean, I didn't want to turn this into a script session,
deal making.
But let's just let's reel this back in. And Lone Star said, okay, so basically, don't be afraid to let the deal go. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say, and follow up in a couple weeks. Exactly right. But let's reel this back in. So what I'm saying is this guy here that Johnny has wants full price. So he's being a banker. He thinks his money is worth 9%. He thinks that you cannot get money and his money is the only money you can get, so he's going to get what he thinks he deserves.
But that's crazy. The banks aren't even asking that. Right?
Yeah. So this guy is an amateur hard money lender taking a shot at you. So just realize who he's being. And it's a lot easier to deal with this guy now because now you know who he's being. He's being a loan shark. So treat him like a loan shark.
Bill, what would happen in a case like this? Because I'm practicing asking more questions. I'm working at it. It's getting better. What would happen if you asked this guy, because he knows you're an investor, and you ask him like, okay, so how would you figure I would make money on this deal then as an investor? How would I make some money?
No, because they don't care about you.
Yeah.
So here's what
he
you
doesn't
do.
have an answer, does
here's
he?
what you do.
Yeah.
So Peter, if you were in my shoes, would you do that deal?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's what you say to him, Johnny.
Yeah.
If you were in my shoes, would you do this deal? Would you pay 9% and put 20% down?
And full price, plus I have to come up with money for renovate. Yeah, the whole, yeah. Okay.
So just ask him, would you do this deal? If you were in my shoes, would you buy this house this way? Or a lot of times I would say something like, so when you bought this house, is that how much you paid? Is that what you did when you bought the house? Right? And just reverse it, because that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's I have so much trouble describing this, and someday I'm going to nail it. But right now I'm getting close, right?
Well, Bill, to your credit, people are asking questions, and you know specific questions, because you can't live this philosophical. We got to get down nitty gritty. So this is good. These questions, these are good.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure we're reversing this, because does the seller know you understood you got his or her communication, right? So so I say to you, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today, right? So you need to acknowledge that, or you need to let somebody know. And the way the seller knows that his picture has been duplicated in your mind is an acknowledgement. And a couple quick examples of an acknowledgement is I got it, or makes sense, I totally understand, or just repeat what they say. That's the most easiest way to acknowledge somebody. So you want to get, so in this particular case, a good acknowledgement for John's guy is, so you want 9% interest and 20% down. That's correct, right? That's an acknowledgement. Because
he knows you got it.
Now you know he's got it. By the way, that's what I do when I was saying before, when I said before I made the comments, let me get it here. You want to check along the way that they're tracking with you.
Yeah, I've seen you do that a lot of times in houses. I used to just like, okay, I understand, but you repeat it and you say, do I have that right? Do I have that right?
Let me see if I
Because,
get
yeah,
this
you
straight.
got it right.
That's my biggest thing. Let me see if I get
Yeah,
this
let me see if I
straight.
get this straight.
Now, here, let's kind of come off of real estate for a second. Let's say you're an employer, which I have been for 35 years. And I learned this in my gas station because I owned a gas station for 25 years, and I had gas attendants and auto mechanics and tow trucks and used car salesmen. I had a lot of people working for me, right? And I would say to them, hey, Daryl, could you, could you do a contract for that 2003 Hyundai?
Mm-hmm. And he goes, uh-huh.
Sure, yeah, right?
Sure.
And so what do you think just happened?
I
I
don't
think
know.
he's got it, right?
Yeah, you're hoping so, but you're not
And
sure.
so I had the expectation of him doing what? Giving me a filled out contract.
On the 2003 Hyundai.
Now watch this, right? Hey, Daryl, what did I just say?
Yeah.
And then I know whether he's got it or not.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna bring it back into real estate. I am going to tell you off the cuff, very passionately and very dominating, that if you don't do this with your contractors, you are screwed.
Oh, there's one.
Because for some reason, contractors breed lack of attention.
What?
Lack of attention. Yeah,
What?
exactly right. I fell for that. So you need to do this banter back and forth with your contractor like, well, what did I just say? Or repeat it to them. Like, for example, I was in a house last night with a contractor, and he gave me an estimate for all this work, but once we started doing the work, he was too busy, so he shed off some of it. Well, actually, most of about 60% of the job I had somebody else do, right? Because I had other people and I didn't want to wait for him.
Yeah.
So I said to him last night, so where are we at with money? Right? Which to me, I have to stop using it, because he said, well, I think you owe me somewhere around $2,600. I said, $2,600, okay, what's it for? Well, I paid the flooring guy $2,200. Well, I had a house like this he used to do floors, so I had a house like this that I paid him $1,100.
Uh-huh.
So he's making a chunk of dough off me. I could have just called the floor guy myself.
Yeah, and originally he was going to do it?
He used to
got too
do
busy?
floors. He doesn't do floors anymore because
No.
it was too
Okay.
hard. So he's got this other guy,
Yeah, okay.
right? But the house is not that big. So, I mean, and that's another story. So I'm being vulnerable. That's what I'm being. Okay? So I said to him, I said, well, you still have to put a hot water heater in. What are we going to do with that? Well, I'll go get a hot water heater. Okay, so how are we going to, how do you want me to pay you? You want me to give you the $2,600? That's where this, you want me to give you the $2,600 now and then just pay you for the hot water later? Or what? No, I need $2,200 for the flooring guy. Just give me that, and then we'll do the rest of it with the hot water heater. My point is that I was specific in the conversation. I was asking questions so I can understand, because the picture he gave me, give me $2,600. I'm thinking, for what?
Yeah.
Right? Actually, that's a good way to think of it is if you had to calculate, if you had to balance the dollars, right? Then it makes you ask questions, because you want to know where all the dollars are. So when a person gives you an answer and it doesn't balance, you have to ask questions so it does balance.
Sure.
Right? Like for example, John's question here, right? He wants 9% down and 9% and 20% down. So, I mean, I know I keep going back to that, but my simple answer to that guy is, oh, okay. So I'm kind of curious. is there a reason why you would ask 20% down at 9%? Because I can go to the bank and get that less money. You know I could do that, right? And I kind of dead agent the fact that I can go get a loan because he thinks I can't get a loan and he's holding me hostage.
Yeah.
So I do that right away. Or I'll tell him, if I give you 20% down and 9% interest, I can only pay this amount, and you deduct a chunk of dough off the price of the house. Right? So if he's asking $200,000, you tell him, okay, well, I'll give you 20% down and 9%, but because the interest is so high, I can only pay $180,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're good at that. You always, it's a give and take.
Yeah.
So if someone asks too much on one end, you ask for something on the other, whether it's more time, the better price, something. Just it's like an equation. If it doesn't balance out, you move something. The interest, the time, the value, any one of those factors.
So Johnny says his reply is, my credit won't max out. So I don't understand that, Johnny. I think you're saying that your seller's telling you your credit won't max out. So why would you want to pay him 20% down? Actually, what I would do is, now that I kind of talk about it, and I didn't want to get into deal structuring here, but paying him 9% is not a problem. It's the 20%. So it's like, pick one. Do you want 9% or 20% down? Which one do you want? Because I can't afford to do both. And that's the simplest way to handle that. So, okay, so if I give you 9%, I can't give you any money down. If you want 20%, I can't pay you 9%. I can only give you the 3%. I can't do both. There's not enough money. Or you got to reduce the equity in the property because the money's got to come from somewhere. See, I get this all the time where like this deal strategy, like something like this, I get into this deal strategy and it's like I'm some god or something because I could whip out these like numbers. And it's like, it cracks me up because it's not that hard. It's whole numbers. It's whole numbers. That's what I do is I start with whole numbers. So like if you're going to go to the bank and you're going to borrow $100,000 for a mortgage, you're going to pay, we'll say $1,300 a month, principal and interest, no taxes or nothing, right? $1,300 a month for $100,000, and you got a 30-year loan, right? If you take $1,300, right, which is probably too much for. Let's make it real. Let's say it's $900, okay? $900 a month on a $100,000 mortgage. With principal and interest, times 360 months, which is 30 years, you're paying $324,000 for that loan. You're not paying $100,000 for that house. You're paying $324,000 for that house, right? So when I look at this deal and I see that John's got 20% down and 9% money, I look at it as a whole. How much is the thing going to cost me as a whole? When I get done, how much am I going to owe? What's it worth?
Right. So you're saying, I talked to a mortgage broker the other day, and I was all hung up on interest. He said, what's the whole story? Do all the numbers and get the whole facts by the end. How long is this? How much of that? So you do the whole formula and see how it turns out in the end, and you balance it out so in the end it kind of works. Don't get hung up on one little piece.
Right.
So if one piece isn't so hot for you, you fix another piece of it, and the whole thing comes out better in the end.
To keep the whole number either the same or lower.
Yeah.
Right?
To make a deal work or not work.
Because in this deal here, if I'm going to put 20% down, two things is going to happen. I'm either borrowing the 20% from a private lender, so now I'm paying again, or I'm taking the money out of some savings account or some other place where it's not working anymore, so it has to work for me here. Just because it's your money doesn't mean you need to put 20% down. We'll say $40,000 into a deal, and now you have to look at, well, I just put 40 grand in there. I mean, you could go to the bank and get a CD right now for 2% or 3%. You should at least make that much money off the deal if you're going to put 40 grand into a deal. You should make something. You shouldn't just put it in a deal and think, oh, I'm going to get $800 worth of cash flow. Yeah, that's cool. Well, you can get $800 worth of cash flow with somebody else's money. Why do you got to put your money in there?
Yep.
Right? So you got to just look at all those factors. Which, by the way, Peter, something occurred to me the other day that I want to correct. And this is not the right place to do it, but I'm going to start here. So I always say to you, what's the only way to lose money in real estate?
Not to put money in.
Right. There's a second part of that I wasn't taking in consideration. The other way is to put a loan in your name.
Yeah.
So the two ways to lose money in real estate is to put money in and to guarantee a loan in your name.
Right, and that's why, everyone talks about no money down, no credit,
Right.
this, that, and the other.
So in this particular case, when John's talking about, his credit, the reason why we are doing what we're doing is not because we don't have money. I mean, some of us are that way, but the real reason is you don't want to max out your credit so you'll stop buying. I mean, you could have $10 million in the bank, and someday, somewhere, somehow, your debt to income ratio is going to go up, and you're going to run out of money because you're going to keep buying, and you'll run out of money. But with creative deals, the way we do them, you never run out of money. You're constantly creating new lenders with these deals, which is AKA the seller, or new private lenders. You never max out your credit limit. That's why we do this, is to keep the credit limit. So you could buy hundreds of houses this way and never max yourself out. Never max your leverage ability out. You never stop leveraging, right? Okay. So the more you can duplicate another person's mental image pictures and understand your seller's pictures, the more they will gain affinity for you, the more they like you and trust you. Because you're understanding them. They feel like you're tracking with them and agreeing with them. And this is huge.
Yeah, but not just tracking and agreeing, so that'll get them to the goal that they're trying to get, right?
Well, I don't, as I was saying that, I knew I was going to be trouble, but I'm not saying that you're agreeing with them, you're agreeing with what they're saying. They understand.
Right, but then I'm just saying that makes them more hopeful that they'll get what they want eventually.
Right.
Because you're not disagreeing or can't do that, can't.
More importantly, the thing that you should know, because I know that this is a problem for a lot of people, because they want to give them an offer. By talking to the customer and understanding what they're saying, all that portrays, and understand this, what that portrays is you're here trying to help them solve their problem. Mm-hmm. And you have some specialized information that you can help them with.
Right. That makes them willing to keep talking to you, keep working with you. Right?
Right. I mean, I just bought couches for my wife. We went to 10 furniture stores.
You did. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, we ordered them, and they told us they were going to be here the middle of December, beginning of January, and I got a phone call yesterday and said that it's not coming until February now. So had it been that way when I ordered them, I wouldn't order them.
Hey, you can still change.
See how that works? See how that works?
Yeah.
That's the sales process. The dude probably knew it was going to be that long. They had a girl call me, and they bumped me. Right?
No.
So the important part here, Peter, is that is to know communication has a yellow line down its street. Right?
Really?
It's a two-way thing. Cars go this way, cars go that way. So cars are going away from you and cars are coming toward you. It's a two-way street. Okay, so which means you listen and duplicate those mental image pictures so the seller's throwing you away. Right?
Yep.
So you have to realize that you have the choice to listen. So put your attention on listening, not your attention on what am I going to say next. Like you just did it to me today because you were doing what you were doing, and I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Right? You can say that. I didn't hear you. Say that again. I'm not tracking with you. What did you say? I don't understand. Now, I don't have this written down, but I could tell you that when somebody doesn't understand something, and this is how I get all the kudos with all my teaching, because I get a lot of them. Okay, and I'm not bragging, it just happens. You know, because you see them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Number one, misunderstood words. And number two, demonstration. So either there's a misunderstood word in there or they don't understand. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a paper and pencil with my seller and I'll draw it on a piece of paper, especially the math. Mm-hmm. Right? With you guys, I use my whiteboard and I write it out on my whiteboard like when we do our meetup. I do it on the whiteboard so you can see me do it.
Sure.
And if somebody has a question, I'll go back and I'll quiz them like, is there something that you don't understand? Right? Because, we used to do a drill in our workshops where I would get the guys to get a blank piece of paper out, and I would tell them to draw a house, right? And then draw a tree, and then draw a window on the tree, and then draw a window, and then draw a driveway. And I forgot, what was the word we used to use? I forgot what it was.
Draw a dub. D-U-B, a dub.
And then everybody would stop drawing, or most people would stop drawing, right? And then what does a dub mean? A puddle, right?
Yeah, puddle, small pond, a little bit of water. It's an English word, but it's not that typical, but it's real. It's just, we don't know it.
But the point is they were able to draw the house, they were able to draw the driveway, they were able to draw the windows and the pictures and everything you told them to do, and then you tell them draw a dub. And they can't. They can't draw it. They can't demonstrate that they know what a dub is.
Mm-hmm.
Until you say to them, a dub's a puddle of water. Oh, okay, and then they draw a puddle of water. This is how your deals, this is how, and I used to do this with teaching employees how to help their employees, because this is how people work. They work until they don't understand something, and then they stop working. They stop producing. And it's the same way with you listening to me right now, is you only go as far as you have a misunderstood. So if you have a misunderstood word, you go blank. You don't know, right, what to do. And if you want to understand where this information comes from, go read Sean Cloudon's book, The Power of Words, or something like that. It's on Amazon. Let me go find that. Hang on, so I get the right definition, the right word here. I'm not going to be able to pull it up here. Let me see here. Oh, here we go. The Power of Words. Unlock your ability to learn and do anything, by Sean Cloudon. It is spelled SeanClouden. So it's an amazing book that will explain exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was looking through there too. I would use that. I have to do that as an educator. But in our example, the dub thing, that's kind of obvious that you don't know. Yeah. And in real life, you won't. There'll be a word that you've heard a bunch that you don't have the right meaning for, and you think you know, and you don't, and you can easily be fooled. So just keep your eyes open. You won't always realize what you're missing. Yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that obvious all the time.
All right, so we got to wrap up here. So now, before we get out of here, let's talk about the beginning of the podcast where I spoke about the outcome.
Yep.
Okay, so much like that saying, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, not all in one bite.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to be like the artist painting a picture, go through the stages and the steps, stop along the way and check and see if the seller's tracking along with you. And when it is time, the seller will have their aha moment. If you're not having someone have aha moments, that's a good sign that you're not doing a good job, or they're pretending.
Right.
Those are good signs. If they aren't engaged and they aren't saying, "Oh, I didn't know that," or "Wow, okay," things like that, then you probably aren't digging in hard enough. You aren't there. The mental image pictures are not matching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's an indicator. Right? So realize this important fact. If someone doesn't understand something, their answer is always going to be no.
Yeah.
So the reason why I spend this whole podcast at 1 hour and 23 minutes talking to you about this and trying to explain it is because if somebody doesn't understand, it doesn't matter how slick your offer is. It doesn't matter how fancy you say the words. It doesn't matter what you do for the seller. If they don't understand, they're going to say no. So you're fighting this shadow that you don't even know exists because they just didn't understand you because you communicated incorrectly, or you didn't take the time to pick up on some of these pointers that we talked about today, and you didn't draw some pictures, and you didn't go slow and easy and build that Picasso like you should have.
Right.
And you're like against, it's a tsunami against you. It's like a tidal wave against you that just you don't even know is there. You just think that they're jerks. Right?
Ooh.
Which is why Pete says 5 no's and 5 yeses. Right? Pete's been talking about that. 5 no's and 5 yeses. You don't want the fake no or the fake yes just to get rid of you, then ghost you once they hear what they wanted to hear or what they thought they hear, and then they just disappear. So the 5 no's and the 5 yeses is confirmation that they're really tracking with you, that they're really with you, and they really agree with you, or they don't agree with you. Right? So the 5 no's is just it's the being part of the be do have. They really feel that way. They really have a concern that you haven't addressed. I mean, think about this, Peter. I'm going to jump right in the profound pool right now. Okay?
Okay, I thought we were getting out, but go ahead, jump in.
The situation they have that's causing them to sell this is in the B category.
That would make sense.
It's pressure on the B. They're trying to be something, and this house is stopping them. They want to be that new person in the job relocation, but they can't. They have the do and the have problems that they can't be this other thing. Right? Or they want to be relaxed and not worry about these payments. Or they want to be done with the ex-wife. Right? Or they want to be the person that goes to a party and says, I made $100,000 off this house. Right? So when you do these things and you clarify in your head who's he trying to be or who's she trying to be, it will help you navigate to what they're really, and they may not even know. It's not like they're consciously saying, I'm trying to be the guy that's going to brag about making $100,000. Right? Yeah. Most people don't think that way. So when you're doing the 5 no's or the 5 yeses, you're verifying the fact that they really do feel that way. Right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to teach you today is the human side of real estate transactions. This is not real estate 101. This is the human side of real estate transactions, because I could easily next week, November 18th, and every 3rd Wednesday of the month, I teach you the mathematical side, the logical side of how you can buy real estate with loan-to-value ratios and my 7 formulas and all that. And all that is a guideline for you to start to figure out the human side of the deal. How do they feel? The emotions, because people make people make decisions with emotions. And then they justify it with logic. And it's funny how you could take logic and twist it around and make it your way all the time.
Oh, yeah, we're good, boy.
Just
we're
to
really
make you
creative
right,
here.
Right?
Oh, hell yeah.
So I want to add this before we shut down. You should listen and fully understand the movie the seller is watching in his or her head. Right?
Yep.
They'll tell you most of the time if they feel comfortable. And hopefully I've made that a little bit easier for you to do today. Because remember this, Peter. The Almighty Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Means we should listen twice as much as we talk. And if you do that, and you use the questions that I've helped you with to guide the conversation, you will learn exactly what you need to do, because you'll know who the seller is trying to be or wants to be or needs to be to get through the next portion of his or her life, and you can help them with that. And in the end, everybody wins. It's not about money a lot of times. Suspects want money. Prospects want to solve a problem. Suspects are bean counters. Prospects are sentient people that have feelings and want to do something. And this house is either stopping them or is a barrier. And when you can see through all that, when you could put on a pair of goggles that we talked about today, and you can see through all that like magical goggles, and see all the things that we're talking about today, deal hunting becomes very creative and very fun. And Desiree says, amen. I can't say any better words than that. Don't forget to go into your description of wherever you saw this podcast and click on the link and get your free stuff. Please subscribe to wherever you're listening to us. Please send us a review. Minimally go to flippinghouses4rookies.com. Top right hand side, it says podcast. And when you go down, there's a link there that says leave us a review. Just go there. And it'll leave us a review on iTunes and all those kind of places. That's our report card. I know that lately I've been really stretching to make some of these podcast topics so they're different. I just don't keep repeating things. 227 podcasts is kind of hard not to repeat the same topic when all we talk about is creative finance and the same 7 deal structures. It's getting kind of hard. But I managed to keep pulling it off every single week. And I hope you're enjoying it. And I would like to know that, because if I'm off too deep in the end or not, or there's something I'm not talking about, I would like to know that, because then I can develop the podcast on what you want to hear, because much like the advice I'm giving you today, I don't want to give you unsolicited advice that you don't want, and I want to talk about what you want to talk about, because I got a bunch of deals going on and I could just go off and do that, and I choose to be here today. So, okay, thank you very much. Peter, any final words?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.